Very good afternoon to all our viewers. Once again, we have Naren Arul Raja, the founder of Eco Marketing, known internationally for innovative ideas and implementation that propels medical practices to their success. His topic for today is Zero Moment of Truth. People buy, selling doesn't work. If you may have any questions or feedbacks, feel free to post it on our Q&A section just by pressing the Q&A bubble on the left-hand side of your screen. We will address them after Naren has finished with his presentation. Welcome, Naren, and it's over to you.
Thank you very much, Telini. I hope you can hear me clearly.
Yes.
My name is Naren Arul Raja. I'm the founder of Equa.com and entrepreneur.md. Just to give you a quick overview of what we're going to discuss today, entrepreneur.md reaches more than 30,000 companies who sell to doctors, and it reaches everybody from marketing staff to sales teams and CEOs. And many of our companies are run by, many of our companies are small in size. So one of the challenges they kept bringing up to us is, how do we compete, against the giants? How do we leverage the internet to create competitive advantage from a marketing standpoint? So the topic today is going to talk about something very, very specific. It's called Zero Moment of Truth, and the subtitle is People Buy, Selling Doesn't Work. Just to give you some background on myself and where I'm coming from, we work with doctors and we help them with their online marketing. We have been doing this for a long time now, and we're very proud of the fact that 90% of our doctor clients stay with us year after year. We also help a few companies who sell products and services to doctors. Again, we have several years of experience. So I'm going to kind of distill what I've learned helping companies sell to doctors as well as internet marketing in general. So the title of the slide is Zero Moment of Truth. So one of the questions I get asked is, what is zero moment of truth? I'm going to skip to one of my subsequent slides and I'm going to kind of spend some time on it, and then I'm going to go back. Zero moment of truth, also referred to as ZMOT, really brings forth a new idea. The new idea is that in the traditional work, in the old way of doing marketing, that's pre-Google, pre-internet, most people learned about a product from a stimulus. A stimulus could be an advertisement they saw. Let's say I have an old car and I'm driving and I hear on my radio this commercial for a sale at a car dealership. Now I'm like, yeah, I need to get a car, so maybe I will check this out. So the theory went that any given time, 3% of the population is looking to buy your product. Again, 3% is just the average. So if you reach hundreds of thousands of people, that 3% would add up, and hopefully some of those 3% who's listening to you at that time would respond, and you can build a sustainable business. So in essence, the old way of doing marketing assumed that you threw 100 darts and 97 of those darts is not going to help you, but the 3 that are going to help you will pay for the other 97. Now, Google fundamentally changed that, and the internet fundamentally changed that, because for the very, very first time, I guess over the last 15 years, we as a species, as a race, now are able to, research the things we are interested in and make choices that we want based on information we gather. This is not a luxury we really had, at least not in an easy way, pre-internet. Right, so let's assume you put an ad on a magazine, and I kind of have a need for that product. I may not know anybody who has that product, and I don't think most people are going to call around 20 people to find out who's using that product. So typically in the old days, relationships mattered a lot. That rapport the salesperson built matter a lot. It still matters, but now most people don't enter into a conversation with a salesperson till they have done their research, until they are pretty sure this product might be able to do what they're looking to do at a reasonable price. So zero moment of truth. So we talked about the stimulus, which is typically the ad, and the first moment of truth is their first engagement with the company. So could be somebody calling your office and wanting to talk to a salesperson. Could be them running into you at a conference. So those were the first moment of truth. Now, the impression you make in the first moment of truth in the old world dictated how successful you are. And the second moment of truth is the experience. So somebody actually using your product and how they feel about your customer service, how they feel about the quality of the product, and so forth and so forth. So the zero moment of truth is a new concept that was introduced, I guess, after the internet, because consumers started doing things differently. So it fundamentally means that before that first moment of truth, people are doing research. And it's not a single moment, even though they're calling it the zero moment of truth. Rather, it's 20, 30 moments that they engage with their computers, with their devices in doing that research. So zero moment of truth could be anything from a review that people read up about your product. It could be them learning more about that product. It could be them comparing that product to other products. It could be all kinds of research that the consumers or the businesses go through educating themselves. So we are going to spend a lot of time today really understanding the zero moment of truth and understanding the new paradigm that people don't like being sold as much these days. Rather, they like to buy, and the role of marketing is to help them buy more so than trying to sell them things that they're not interested in. Let me talk about the web-centric world we are living in. We already touched on this in my last slide, which is this idea that the zero moment of truth, which is where the web lives, has become really important, and it's really what influences a lot of the life cycle of a sale, in terms of people doing research and educating themselves about a product or service. So what's the traditional model of marketing? Historically, it was really ads. So it could be a yellow page ad, could be you going to a meeting or a conference, could be a colleague of a doctor who you are already doing business with is referring somebody else to you. Could be direct marketing, like you could either have a direct sales force, or you could be cold calling them with a telesales force. So this is kind of historically how marketing was done. Now a lot of this still applies, not as much as they used to. Like, for example, yellow pages or any kind of print ad is becoming less and less and less effective because people are not engaging with those things as much as they used to. Cold calling, again, a lot of people, especially doctors, you cannot get through to them because they have gotten so many calls over the years that are unsolicited that they have been very good at training their staff to kind of screen those calls out. So that doesn't work as much anymore. Also, now conferences and events, it still does work. But as you know, they're very expensive. For example, to go to a single meeting, you might end up spending, $2,000 to $3,000 for the booth, and maybe several thousands of dollars for the travel and hotel, and an additional thousands of dollars in terms of time away from the office. So, a typical meeting would cost at the low end maybe $7,000, and at the high end could be $20,000, $30,000, depending on how many people are going and how big of a booth you have. Now, that's fine as long as enough doctors go to the conference. And as you know, doctors are going less and less to conferences because of the internet and because of technology. They don't need to go to conferences to find out about new products and services. They can do it in many other ways. So the real issue is that the attendance at these conferences are becoming less and less and less. So the cost per doctor that you end up talking to goes up and up and up. I talk to companies that tell me on average they're spending 300, sometimes even 600, 700 per doctor they talk to. Once you divide all the costs from travel to time and so forth. So this is the traditional model of marketing. Referrals obviously still work, and they are probably the best source of getting new business. So obviously, I think that hasn't become less important today versus before, but it's something that we need to pay attention to. So why doesn't the traditional model work as much as it used to? Because I think the traditional model was all about push. I go, I interrupt people, or I kind of nab people, and I tell them about what I do. And most people, I guess, were comfortable with that approach up until the point that they didn't have any other choice, any other way of doing things. But now that they do have a new way of doing things, which is research, that doesn't work as much. I'll give you a simple stat. In 2007, a billion people Google was used 1 billion times a day. Today, it's being used 6 billion times a day. That's just in 6 years. So that means there are 6 times more people who are looking to buy things? No. What has changed, however, is that 2007 is when the iPhone was introduced, and computers started living with people 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They wake up with their phone alarm, and then they go to sleep when the phone or their wearable device is monitoring their sleep patterns. So we live in a world where technology is constantly part of people's lives. So when technology becomes so ubiquitous and easy, people ask more questions and get better answers, again, because technology keeps improving. So that's the reason the number of times they use Google has gone from 1 billion to 6 billion. It's because Google is smarter, and it's living with them 24 hours a day. So in that world, expecting people to buy the way they used to in the old days without doing research, without really figuring things out on their own is not a good idea, because that doesn't exist anymore. Also, studies show that on average, before a doctor engages a salesperson in a serious conversation, they have typically looked at many pieces of information, and a lot of times they're saying, depending on the product, it could be as many as 15 pieces of information. So it could be reviews, could be product pictures, product videos, comparisons, you versus somebody else in your category. It could be them learning about that product and the benefits of that product. So they have already done their research by the time they're willing to have a serious conversation with somebody. So you as a business owner, you as a small to medium sized business selling to doctors, you need to be aware of this, and you need to make sure your product, your information is what they keep seeing versus your competitions as they go through that process of learning about the product. So this is a key point. This is the subtitle of my presentation: people buy, selling doesn't work. So fundamentally, what I'm trying to say is, stop trying to sell people things. Instead, shift your mind all towards, how do I help people buy? So one of the clients we work with that sells, a few types of products, several types of products to, dentists. What they do is they have a lot of webinars. They have large newsletters, where they provide tons of educational content, cases, and, recorded, sessions where actual doctors are using their product. And then they also have classes, both live and online, where they teach people how to use the product and how to benefit from the product. So really, they're not trying to say, here is my product, come buy me, and here are the features, and here is the price. They're really trying to show them how real people or real doctors are using that product to grow their business, to save time, etc. So you need to kind of understand that. So you need to really change your mindset from, how do I find new ways to sell to them, to how do I find new ways to help them buy. Some other examples in terms of helping them buy is, start building your reviews. So for example, on entrepreneur.md, if you have a profile, you can get your happy doctors to share reviews, and we will take it from you. They don't even have to do it themselves, the doctors, and publish it on our site. Obviously, they have to be real doctors. We'll verify that they are, actual practicing doctors. Now, as a doctor who goes to that profile and they read 20 other doctors who have shared, good things about your product, now they're much more comfortable in wanting to talk to you versus, being doubtful. Also, we provide a badge that you can display on your site. So, it's called reviewed by doctors, reviewed profile on entrepreneur.md. So you can display that badge on your site. Again, it's just part of the way we do things, and it really can help you boost your credibility with doctors. Something else you may want to look at in terms of helping people buy is, search engine optimization. And it's not something we're going to get into the details of today, but if you have a kind of a unique product, not like, if you're selling gloves, it's probably hard for you to, do search engine optimization because the competition will be unbelievable, meaning there'll be thousands and thousands of companies you have to compete with. But on the other hand, if you're selling a unique product that not maybe only a few hundred other companies provide, not thousands and thousands, you might have a chance of using search engine optimization to help people discover you versus your competition as part of their research. So there's a lot of things you can do to help people buy versus trying to sell to them. I just want to touch on this again, the key points. First moment of truth is their first interaction with your brand. Could be a phone call, could be them actually touching and using your product for the very first time, at a demo. The second moment of truth is their experience, and their experience will influence what they talk about you with others or online. So now that again influences the zero moment of truth, because in the zero moment of truth, doctors are doing research, and one of the things they're researching is reviews. So they know what other people think of your brand, especially other people like themselves. And we also talked about search engine optimization. So when they're trying to learn about a product category, if your page keeps showing up with videos and useful content, now you are in the game. So there might be 100 other people who offer similar products, but now they're not paying attention to all 100 of them, but they're paying attention to you because you are the one, or you're one of the products that they keep seeing. So let's talk about search engine optimization a bit. Right now in this press presentation, we are doing a series. So this is a series of 5 total presentations. The first one, I just wanted to give an overview, and I wanted to touch on all the key ways you can market yourself online. And then the subsequent presentations, which I'll get into more detail, will go deep in terms of each topic. So what is search engine optimization? I'm sure you all have heard of it. I mean, it's SEO. When those 6 billion people use Google every day, how do you show up? Hopefully near the top for the relevant keywords. Now, I'm not going to go into the details, but at a high level, Google is moving more and more towards personalized search. So things like location, things like reviews, things like what other sites talk about your product in terms of positives and negatives, all those matter. So in search engine today, as far as search engine optimization is concerned today, content still is important. What other sites think of you, could be reviews or could be links. They are still important. Picking the right keywords is important. Investing the correct amount is important, because no point trying to compete for gloves, unless you have a massive budget, because there are thousands and thousands of others who are also trying to compete for gloves. So, so being able to make good decisions in terms of what keywords, what products you can do SEO with, those are all important. So these are some of the things that we'll cover in that detailed presentation when we talk about search engine optimization. And obviously you'll be notified about these upcoming presentations. Reviews, we already touched on it. I think it's really, really, really important you get reviews not only on your site, but on third-party sites, because the power of third-party sites is it brings credibility to your brand. Because when you say things on your site, they're going to assume that you're only going to say good things about yourself. So really pay attention to it, start building it up. And again, you can have written reviews and video reviews and, your site, other sites. 9 out of 10 people today don't buy anything without they do research and they learn about what others think of the product or service. and they trust reviews online more so than they trust their own friends. And the reason being, they know that friend will only give them one person's opinion. Reviews online will give them 20 people's opinion, so they can really get a feel for the product from a holistic standpoint, from different points of views or from different people's perspective. Mobile is a game changer, right? Because I think 1.5 billion people have mobile devices, and in the US, iPhone and Apple devices control more than 50% of the market. Android controls pretty much the other 50% of the market. And globally, Android is more powerful than iPhone, almost like 4:1. So 80% for Android and 20% for Apple. The other players like Microsoft and RIM and so forth, they are very small. They're like 2 to 3%. So, like I was alluding to, mobile is a big deal, especially with doctors. For example, we do business with quite a few doctors, and 70 to 80% of their emails are coming from mobile devices, either tablets or phones. Because when they are in between patients and just moving around their practice all day long, it's much easier for them to check their email or check their messages or check a site on their mobile device that they have in their pocket versus go to a desk and sit down and read and all that stuff. So mobile is extremely popular with doctors. So you as a business needs to really rethink everything you're doing from a mobile standpoint. Again, this is something we'll go in depth, but at a high level, what that means is, the basics. Your website has to be optimized for mobile devices. So in a small device, with a small screen, it still should be easy to, read and navigate. It should work on different types of devices because, there are Android, and even in Android, there are different versions. iOS, there are different versions. So there is a technology called responsive mobile websites. I suggest you use that technology and you work with your webmasters and you make sure that it works on different devices. That's just the basics. Now, the kind of information people consume on a mobile device is different from the kind of information they consume, on a desktop. For example, videos are a lot more popular on mobile just because most people don't want to read, in a small screen. But watching a pretty compelling video for a couple of minutes, they still can do on a mobile device. So mobile also changes the way people, use and consume information. So you need to be aware of that. Even your newsletters, if you have a 2-column newsletter, it might be hard to read on a mobile device because now they have to scroll from left to right to left to right to left to right, and it's not very effective. Social media. Now, as a business that sells to doctors, I think social media doesn't play a huge role. Now, obviously, I think it also depends on the particular service we're talking about, like YouTube. This client that we work with that I was talking about in dentistry, he gets, 2 million, he has gotten 2 million views on his YouTube channel, 2 million, and each month they get hundreds and hundreds of people watching their many, many, many different videos. So for video content, YouTube is a great way to get it in front of, a lot more new people. So I think YouTube is very good, especially with video, and you could optimize it for keywords, and you could optimize it, in multiple different ways, plus embed it in your newsletters on your website and so forth. Facebook, depending on your practice area, for example, a lot of dermatologists use Facebook. At least they have a Facebook account, especially the younger dermatologists. Now, if you have a Facebook fan page and they liked you and you post something and they comment on it, all of their friends who also happen to be dermatologists might see it. Now, I really think Facebook, in the grand scheme of things, is not that important for a business that's selling to doctors. So have a page, have a presence, and post interesting, useful things that the doctors would appreciate once in a while. But don't get carried away and spend too much of your time, more than 5% of your marketing time into something like Facebook. Now, some doctors and some companies use LinkedIn. The problem with LinkedIn is they don't log into LinkedIn every day like they log into Facebook. So you might say something today and they might only see it 3 weeks later, and by that time that information is stale. So the impact of the information is not that high. So, we have done a lot of experiments with LinkedIn, and we found LinkedIn is a great way to meet specific people in companies. but not necessarily a great way to do marketing. Um, so so you could use LinkedIn, but again, be measured. Don't put too much of your eggs into this basket. Automated marketing. So that's a new buzzword, and some people call it content marketing as well. And what it fundamentally means is that the power of technology is that you don't have to do things one by one by one. You don't have to shake hands one by one by one. You can deal with hundreds, if not thousands of people all at the same time, but still using technology, you can customize your interaction. So for example, if somebody's interested in a particular device you have, you could talk about only that device with those group of people versus somebody else is interested in something else, then you could talk about only those things with that group of people. And a lot of this can be done automatically. So once it's set up and you use the right technology and software and so forth, you don't have to worry about manually getting involved in sorting things. Some of these tools can even score the interaction. So for example, let's say a particular doctor has done 7 things, read 2 articles, attended a webinar, downloaded a book. You can give each thing they did a particular score, and once they hit a certain threshold, you could tell your sales team to go and call. And a lot of this can be automated. So the system would automatically notify the salesperson, hey, this doctor has a score of 45, the threshold was 42, it's time for you to call and start building a relationship. So in the beginning, the nurturing of the lead, happens through technology. And once the lead is nurtured, then you get involved and your salespeople get involved and really start building those relationships. Lead capture is another thing, right? So you need to grow your database, because if you have a database of 3 people, all this effort you're going to put into automated marketing would be wasted. So how do you do lead capture? How do you grow your database? There's lots of different ways. One is you can get you can give away things like you could give away a book, or you could give away an infographic, or you could do different things that people would find useful, and in return you ask them for their name and email and permission to send them additional information down the road. And most people will opt in. I mean, our experience is 3 out of 4. So you could slowly but surely build your database. CRM integration, a lot of these technologies will integrate with your CRM system, so you don't have to manually be entering information into your customer relationship management CRM/sales software, right? It can all be done automatically. Web analytics, that's also really important. You want to know what's going on. So let's say how many people are coming to your website, what pages are they looking at, and what activities are they doing, because again, this could be linked back to your automated marketing, and you could leverage that information. Even what keywords that's driving your traffic. Let's say you're doing ads on Google or other places, you can track exactly what ad is working, how many people came in, and so forth. Content marketing. So content marketing is a new buzzword that a lot of people keep throwing around, and the idea is that content is at the center of marketing. So let's say you wrote a white paper about a particular case, a particular example of a doctor using a certain product and the benefits he saw, right? Now you could take that white paper and you could use it in so many different ways. You can offer it as a freebie for people to download when they are willing to give their name and email. So that's one way to use that piece of content. You could take that content and maybe make small infographics from it, like charts, for example, of interesting informational nuggets, and say, hey, here is we did a survey, and here is something interesting we found. Feel free to download our nugget. Sorry, our infographic, right? So that's again using that content in multiple ways. You could tweet about it. You could share it with people on your Facebook. You could encourage other people to share it on their Facebook. You could get people to retweet. You could include it in your newsletter. So you can use a piece of content in so many different ways to get more people engaged and paying attention to what you're doing. Obviously, you don't want to overdo it. You don't want it to be so complicated or so confusing that people stop paying attention. So you need to think things through. You need to really have a strategy around this. We talked about automated marketing, and one of the things we touched on was analytics. So Analytics are becoming really, really important. I'm sure you may have heard of this phrase where one of the VPs of marketing at Procter & Gamble several years ago said, I know half of my marketing works, I just don't know which half. Now, you don't have to accept that anymore in the world that we live in. You know precisely what's going on, even at a person level. You know Joe Smith came to your website, looked at these pages, downloaded that article, and came to this webinar on such and such and such a date. So you know a ton about Joe Smith and exactly how he engaged with your business. So you can do that kind of analytics both at a micro level, on a person level, or you can do it, at a macro level. So what are the keywords that are driving traffic to us? How much time are people spending on our site, specific sections of our site? What can we do to improve that section? You could even do A/B testing. So you could try one technique with half your population and then not try that technique with the other half and see the difference. You could even do minor things like moving links on a page and see if that changes user behavior. So you can do a lot of things by paying attention to your numbers and your data. And again, these are some of the things we'll be going through in detail in one of the subsequent presentations. To summarize, internet marketing, in my opinion, is about helping your market buy. So you as a business, I think, really have to embrace this paradigm if you want to get the most out of internet marketing. The more you're thinking about how do I sell, the less you're going to be able to succeed in this, web-centric world that we live in. So I'm just going to spend a few minutes giving you a quick overview of some of the other presentations. The next one is titled Local Search Engine Optimization on Google Places. What this means is that Google Places is playing a more important role, but for you this may not be as applicable because you are targeting clients from all over the country, let's say, right? So not just people from your city. So Google Places is not that important. So a lot of what we'll be talking about is search engine optimization. So in other words, how do you rank nationally and regionally for specific keywords? How do you keep improving it? So we'll really get into the nuts and bolts of search engine optimization and the do's and the don'ts and how to make things work. The next one is titled Branding, Discovering, Communicating, and Living Your Brand. Now this is really, really, really important. There might be 10 companies that are competing with you. What makes you unique? What makes you different? Trying to be everything to everybody doesn't work in today's world. So who is your demographic? How are you different from your competition? Why does the people who love your product love your product? You need to understand this. You need to understand your brand. What makes you different? What makes you unique? What makes you endearing to a group of people? And then once you understand it, you need to communicate it and you need to live it. Because if you don't communicate it effectively and if you don't live it effectively, meaning consistently, people will get disillusioned and they don't believe what you're saying. So once you lose credibility, it's really hard to succeed, especially in a hyper-competitive world that we live in. Reputation management and social media, that's really, really, really important. Reputation management, we already touched on, which is reviews, and we'll talk a lot about how to get reviews, what kind of reviews to get, what type of things you want the reviews to say, how do you make sure that your information is consistent, so not just on one site but on multiple sites they all have the correct phone number, the correct address, the correct information, so which again helps with search engine optimization. We already touched on LinkedIn and Facebook and YouTube, so we're going to get more into that. And we're going to talk about exactly how you can, leverage that without going overboard. The do's and the don'ts and the lessons learned from our experience helping companies sell to doctors. We already touched on automated marketing and content marketing and analytics. So we're going to spend 30 minutes talking about that with 30 minutes of Q&A. We'll show you exactly, how you could use Google Analytics, where to pay attention to. We'll share with you our experience with automated marketing and tools we have used. So this I think is a really important topic. Now let me turn it over to questions and answers. I think people are posting questions, and I think some questions were emailed to us. So Tilini, if you're ready, why don't you?
Yes, I will pose the questions for you now, Naren. Let me go with the first question. Does ZMOT or zero moment of truth really work even for medical device or medical suppliers, vendors who sell relatively more expensive products than what are typically sold on e-commerce websites?
Right. So the question is, does it really work for expensive products such as medical device products? I have worked with medical device companies, and I absolutely would argue that it does work even more so. And the reason is, if I'm spending $10, I don't have to think a lot, right? Because it's less expensive. But if I'm spending $10,000, now that can take a bite out of my, you know, my money. So obviously I'm going to think a lot more about that. So the same thing applies to medical devices, because these are typically, big dollar purchases. People typically will not make a decision without doing a lot of research and thinking. So I do think they do work. Now, what kind of things can you do? I would suggest, we already talked about the basics, right? Reviews and what other doctors think. So try to create a portfolio of, these testimonials and reviews. Try to create case studies. Try to make it easy for doctors to sell your services using your medical device to their consumers. So you're not necessarily positioning yourself as just somebody who sells them a piece of equipment, but rather somebody who helps them make money. Because obviously, why are they purchasing this equipment? Because they want to grow their business, right? So really put yourself in their shoes and try to see how you can help them use your product as a way to grow their business. Was there another part of the question I missed?
No, I think you covered it all.
Perfect.
Right. We'll go with the second question. What is the most effective way to communicate with doctors, medical practitioners, to stay top of mind and to educate?
What's the most effective way to, can you repeat that question again, please?
To communicate with doctors, medical practitioners, to stay top of mind and to educate.
Yes, I think having a very compelling newsletter that's not about you, but rather about them, meaning you giving them information that they appreciate and they would thank you for, I think is one way to really stay top of mind. Even with social media, we notice that if the social media post is about us and what we are doing and our accomplishments and me, they don't engage. But if it's about them, you're sharing a very powerful infographic that in 2 minutes teaches them something that was pretty interesting to them. Now they would like it, and that means their friends are going to see it. So people tend to appreciate things that are all about them, that's all about helping them, more so than something promotional. So I think having a newsletter, leveraging social media, leveraging YouTube, and really educating people and sharing information with people, high quality information, I think is key.
Okay, let's move on to the third question. What kind of content details do doctors want to see online from a medical vendor?
I think it depends on what kind of product or service you have. So if I were to give you an example, we are a marketing company that helps doctors, right, as well as companies selling to doctors. So when we think about our business and how do we share content or information with doctors, we write a lot of articles teaching them how they could do some of this on their own, like how they could think about reputation. We do webinars teaching them various parts of internet marketing. We share case studies where specific doctors have worked with us and grown their business using our services. We make an effort to build up our testimonials and reviews. We literally pay attention to customer feedback. So every single feedback from any one of our clients gets emailed to me, the CEO, plus few of the key executives. So in the last month, we got 215 or odd, feedback, and we are very proud of the fact that almost 200 of them were positive. So we really try to, pay attention to how customers feel about us on a day-to-day basis. And obviously, when we hear something negative, we act on it and we try to fix it for good. When we hear something positive, then obviously we try to accentuate it and we should try to, build on it both internally as well as, using it in our marketing communication, obviously with the permission of the client.
Fine. Let's move on to our fourth question. What are the best ways to get new clients through online marketing?
Yeah, I think online marketing is not, easy. It's tough. It takes time. It takes effort. It takes commitment. So I really think you need a basic website with relevant, useful information. You need to think of everything you do online as not a one-time thing. You just put it up and we forget about it, but rather a living, breathing, ongoing effort. Like the clients we work with who sell to doctors, they're very active. They do weekly newsletters. They do, webinars. They update their site with new product information. They focus on new keywords. Obviously, we do a lot of the work for them, but they don't just passively sit and expect things to work. It just doesn't happen that way. You have to be engaged. You have to look at engaging more and more doctors and getting them having conversations with you, and then obviously both paying attention to the marketing side of it as well as the selling side of things.
Moving on to the next question. How is the best way to acquire quality long-term clinic customer accounts without having reps, independent or employed, in the field?
Can you repeat that question, please?
How is the best way to acquire quality long-term clinic customers accounts without having reps, independent or employed, in the field?
No, that's an excellent question. I think we are a great example of that. Like we have 150 staff, and we don't have reps on the field. I mean, our entire sales team is me and one other person. So I think the reason we are able to do that is because we invest a lot in getting people to call us, getting people to discover us in this zero moment of truth, in this on the online, doing their own research. And by the time they're calling, they're very serious about purchasing our product. And so we don't need a large team to babysit a lot of people who are not serious. So typically, we are able to close 50% of the people who call us because by the time they call, they have educated themselves a lot about who we are and what we do. So I really think in today's world, you don't need to be a large corporation with hundreds of salespeople to succeed. I think by using marketing effectively, especially online marketing, you really, really, really can, even with one or two people in your sales team, grow your business significantly. Obviously, the other part of that equation is if your clients buy one product and never buy again from you, then you have an issue because then now you have to keep going after brand new clients every single day and every single month. So if you can find a way to get them to stay with you, get them to keep paying you, I think that's a powerful combination. So a powerful online marketing where people call you combined with a solid focus on, retaining customers and keeping them happy.
Let's move on to the next question, Naren. How is your marketing program, EMD, different than advertising via Google?
Well, entrepreneur.md is a free platform. Now you could have a profile for a few $100s a year with reviews, with the badge that I was talking about that you can display on your website, mentioning that you are reviewed by doctors, with the education that we provide. Again, the education is absolutely free. Anybody can participate in the education. So Entrepreneur.md is a great tool for you to reach the hundreds of thousands of doctors we reach by engaging with us, by working with us. And the most you'll end up paying for Entrepreneur.md is a few $100s for the profile. Now, Equa.com is a marketing firm that helps companies with marketing, right? And like I was saying, we have helped companies market to doctors, and we have experience in that space. So the way Equa.com works is obviously we sit and analyze your goals, your competition, and we figure out, can we compete, and if so, how? Should we use search engine optimization? Should we use automated marketing? What kind of a role is social media going to play? Based on all of that analysis, we'll go back and forth and we'll develop a marketing campaign. And then we as a team, we have close to 150 people, we implement those strategies on your behalf on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, with you providing creative input and approving things that we do. So Equa Marketing is a services company that's really focused on helping our clients do really well, because our focus with Equa is retaining clients, 90% of clients every year. Now, entrepreneur.md is a platform that provides education and tools for you to help yourself with regards to online marketing to doctors.
Moving on to the next question, I think we have another 3 questions for you, Naren. Are doctors actually ready to search online, compare prices and features from different sellers, review vendor websites, and make relationships with new vendors online?
Yeah, I don't think it's like a car, right? I mean, even though 90% of the people know exactly what car they want, how much they're going to pay for online, most people are not going to buy cars online because it's a big ticket item. They want to see somebody face to face and sign the papers face to face, right? Same thing with, I think, with medical vendors. I think online plays a very key role in helping them choose you as opposed to your competition. But I do think, you need face to face. You need that relationship because, doctors, the good news about doctors is once they like you, they're loyal to you for a long time as long as you don't mess it up. So, I'm not in any way suggesting that you can run a completely web-based business. Now, some products may be products that have $50 to a few $100. You could have an e-commerce site and you could do everything online. But I think for most products, I think our services, I think web will drive the people to you, and then you need to have real people to have real interactions with these clients and build relationships.
2 more questions, Naren. And this is which social media website is the best for medical vendors? LinkedIn seems very limited. Facebook can only reach so many, and Twitter occupies a lot of time because you have to strategically tweet when people might be on lunch or even on social media.
Yeah, I really think social media shouldn't consume more than 5% of your marketing time. If it is, you're doing something wrong because most people are not going to social media to make a purchase decision. Social media is a great tool to keep in touch with people. Think of it like the modern telephone. A lot of people check Facebook and and so forth. So just a way to keep in touch with people so you are on top of mind. So in terms of within social media, what's important, what's not. I mean, I think YouTube probably is by far #1 for a lot of companies because you can leverage the videos and optimize those videos. I would say LinkedIn and Facebook could be equal #2s depending on what type of business you have. For some businesses, LinkedIn might work better than Facebook, and for others, it could be the opposite. It all depends on your type of doctor, where are they spending time. Twitter, I think you shouldn't focus as much on it because, I mean, especially busy doctors, they don't have time to, keep reading tweets and so forth. So, I mean, most doctors that we work with, they don't really follow Twitter as closely. So I don't know if Twitter is a great way for you to spend your time. But you could have a profile and, whatever you are doing on Facebook, for example, you could also post it on Twitter. But I wouldn't spend too much of my time on it. That would be at the lowest, priority for me.
Thank you, Naren. The last question we have for you today. How would you market a specialized product, service, or medical practitioners?
Yeah, I think the good news is because you have a specialized product, you can really target and really stand out. Because if you are competing with only 10 other people like you, it's much easier to win than if you're trying to compete, with thousands of people, right? So you could specifically create a niche for yourself, both in terms of SEO and newsletters and databases, and really be seen as an expert. Also, you could partner with others. For example, when you're doing webinars, you could partner with others who are willing to have you host a webinar with their audience. Because your product is niche and specific, they don't see you as a conflict or in competition with themselves, with their own interests. So I think the beauty of the internet is that even a small company can compete, and succeed against the big companies if they are using the right strategies and if they're really good at marketing. So I think I think you having a niche product might work in your advantage if you can really make it so by establishing yourself as the leader in that space. Either at least as a thought leader in that space.
Okay. Thank you, Naren, for being with us. And that was very insightful. And thank you very much. And I wish you a good day, Naren.
Thank you very much, Tilini, and I really also want to thank all the people who took the time out of their busy schedules to come and participate in this webinar. And I'm looking forward to seeing them again in our subsequent webinars where we go in depth, with regards to the other topics we touched on.
Yes, and thank you very much for all our viewers and participants. We will meet you again with another webinar in few weeks, and the topic would be on local search for medical industry, search engine optimization, and Google Places. Hope you have a good day, and bye-bye.
Thank you very much. And if anybody wants to email me any question, please feel free to, and I would be more than happy to help.